over the last 10 years, there have been more than 900 surveys, research, to try to get a sense of whether people considered themselves to be happy. And on average, it seems that 7 out of 10 people would answer that yes, they felt that they were happy. If they lived in Puerto Rico or in Mexico or in a couple of other countries, then it was even higher. 7.5% to 8% said they were happy. But with that, we also find that even in difficult economic times that have really affected the publishing industry, there are more and more books being published on the subject of essentially how to be happy. My friend Sharon Salzberg wrote a book that's titled Real Happiness. And of all the books that she has written, and there are now 8 or 9 of them, this is by far the biggest seller. It's been a bestseller for literally from the first day that it came out a year and a half ago. So people say that they are happy, and yet on some level, I think that we, all of us, according to the Buddhist teaching anyway, we experience some form of dukkha, some form of stress, distress, unhappiness, suffering. Often, the Buddha said, it's always there, it's a characteristic. But also in the Buddhist teaching is this very interesting point. Buddhists view happiness as a skill that anyone can learn. Not as, happiness is not viewed as something that you were just born with, as, let's say, a talent, or your physical appearance, or your height, but a skill, something that we can learn. And I think that's incredible. It sort of says, we're not stuck in this place of feeling down, or feeling sad, or feeling unhappy. Yes, there are times, of course, when we do feel down. There is no saying that happiness is just this straight line, ongoing, bzz, one is always happy. That's not realistic. But that there is kind of a baseline, and that baseline can be changed and can become higher and higher as our skill at happiness increases. The medium for working on this in the Buddhist tradition is meditation. Because it is in meditation that we get to sit down quietly and look at what's going on in the mind. And specifically, referring to happiness, we see thoughts that lead us away from happiness, lead us toward unhappiness. Now, an unhappy thought can arise, but if we just watch that thought, it arises and it dies away. What the Buddhists are speaking of is thoughts that arise that we then cling to or add to, begin to write our stories, our scenarios. And I'm assuming we all know what that's like, because I'm pretty confident to say we all do it. Or I could just speak for myself and say, I do it, and I watch myself doing it. So there's a logic that says, if I see how I create unhappiness, then I really should in that same moment see how I can put an end to that unhappiness. This is sort of the relationship between the second and third noble truth. First truth being that there is dukkha, there are forms of unhappiness. Second noble truth, there is a cause. There's always a cause of our unhappiness. And the third noble truth is that there is an end to that unhappiness, and that end comes about by seeing how we cause our unhappiness. The Buddhists say that that cause of unhappiness is always related to some form of clinging, grasping, could expand it to greed, lust, desire. But remember, it's not just, if we take desire as an example, we can desire many wonderful things. We can desire world peace. We can desire to be with a friend and go enjoy a wonderful meal together, all of which is fine. What the Buddhists are speaking about is that clinging to, that grasping, that ongoing need for more. If I just enjoyed a wonderful meal and that feels really good, well, then I should have another one, because then that will feel good also. And I should make sure that tomorrow I do the same thing. And then more. Maybe if I have 2 wonderful meals each day, that will be twice as good. And then I realize, gee, I could also have a bigger and better car. And I could get a larger apartment, of course. And all of these things will bring about more happiness. And so we do those things, and then what happens? Those peak moments of pleasure do what all moments do, what all phenomena do, they fade away. So I need to gear up again. If this larger apartment brought me some moments of joy, certainly then even another larger one will bring even more. Well, of course, then I'm going to have to change my job if I'm going to be able to afford this. So now I need to go find another job. And I assure you, do this for hours and hours and hours. And unfortunately, many people do it for lifetimes. It becomes an endless pursuit. We're encouraged on that path by every newspaper ad, by every TV commercial. Splash this perfume on you, and you will be irresistible as you drive in your shiny new red Lexus, wearing your beautiful new dress by, who's in right now? I don't know which designers are really significant. But surely you can find out and you know, get yourself one of those $3,000 or $4,000 dresses that's going to bring you incredible happiness. But after all, how many days in a row can you wear that dress? So it goes into the closet, but then you need another, and another, and another. So you get the idea. The Buddha was saying that the pursuit of happiness outside of ourselves is going to be endless and unsatisfactory. Dukkha. So he said, instead of pursuing happiness, he suggests a different methodology. He says, look inside at the ways in which you cause yourself unhappiness and address that. And begin the process of ceasing, bringing about the end of the ways in which you cause yourself unhappiness. Ultimately, he said, if we bring about the end of dukkha, if we bring about the total extinction of all dukkha within, what we're left with is called nirvana. And nirvana, a Sanskrit word, a Pali word, that actually means extinction. It's not a place or a heavenly state. It means extinction. The extinction of all dukkha, of all stress, unrest. It doesn't mean that you're now floating above the ground as you go about your daily activities. There's a wonderful book by Jack Cornfield, and the title of which kind of explains this. It says, after the ecstasy, the laundry. After you have reached complete enlightenment, you still have to do the laundry. Still have to, in those days, fill your bucket with water and bring it to the house. Even the Buddha, if he cut his hand, it bled. And it undoubtedly hurt for a bit. The difference is one's relationship to physical pain, to distress, to discomfort. Our experience of dukkha. Because it will be there. There is illness, there is old age, there is death. All of which can be sources of dukkha. So, the Buddha says, look inward. The medium, the practice place is the meditation cushion. That in his view it was necessary to stop what you're doing so that you can look at the mind. Just you and the mind. And of course ultimately that you disappears, but we'll save that for another time. Body and mind, that's all we have. So we look at what the experience is. The Buddha said, all that you are arises with your thoughts. Thought precedes everything. Thought comes first. Then all that you are arises from those thoughts, and with your thoughts you make the world. We can look at the most mundane example. We hear some little chirping outside, right? Is it those dawn birds who are disturbing my meditation practice? Or is it the sweet singing sound of little birdies? It's exactly the same sound. I often use another mundane example. We planned the big picnic for weeks and weeks. And comes that day, it's raining. Now I can spend the entire day and days afterwards with, how could this happen to me? This is raining on my picnic. How can this happen? This is awful. Or, darn, it's raining. Well, we have all this food, we have all these people who want to have a good time. Let's set up inside and have a big feast inside. Hey, this will be great. Dry, comfortable, no ants. Terrific. And that's what the Buddha invites us to see by looking inside. Perspective. Thought precedes everything. Thought makes our experience. And we get to see how the mind functions when we sit down, get quiet, without clinging or grasping, without judging, just watching. Most of the time, awareness will be enough. When it's not, there are steps that we can take. If I find myself just dealing with anger, I might practice metta, loving kindness. I might practice compassion. If I feel tight and grasping and clinging, I might practice generosity. Key factor to awakening greater depths of happiness is to, in modern terminology, they would say, get out of yourself. Be involved in something greater than self.